Hello, and welcome to 10 Very Big Books, a Malazan Readthrough podcast. I'm India. I've not read, but I've almost read every book in the main series. And with me here, with my final introduction today, is Peter Bond.
That's right. Almost, baby. So close. So close. Last couple miles. Here we go.
Love Peter so much. Sweet, sweet angel. Moving on to my other favorite, AJ Valeri.
That's me, baby. Hello.
And last, but certainly not least in my heart, Josh Baker.
Hello. Really subdued responses today. I like this.
I think that we're all just kind of feeling all of the feelings because, of course, we are rounding out the end. I don't even know how to feel, guys. I want to kind of start us off by asking you a quick question, and that is, what was your favorite part of doing this podcast? I'll throw it to you first, Peter.
Whoa. Kind of feels like, honestly, I kind of imagine we're going to have some podcast retrospective feelings after we wrap up the read-through.
Totally. Oh, we for sure will, but this is my episode, my way.
Okay. I will just so many things, but I will try to keep it book focused. One thing I've spoken about it, rereading the books, I would say totally different experience than reading it the first time. So that's one thing that I got out of the podcast, but there are many. I just wanted to keep it a little Malazan focused for me.
Great. Love that. I think that's, you have such a unique perspective. I forgot that you read this. I don't know why.
India, you have such a unique perspective.
Stop.
Oh my God. You have a unique perspective.
India, what's something you got out of the show?
I say it all the time. My favorite thing about the show is the community that we have made together. I love you guys so much, and I think that it's just been really rewarding to spend a lot of time with your friends and coming together to discuss a really painful book.
Painful as in really long, or
painful in every sense of the word. In literally every sense of the word. I want to kick it over then to Josh.
That's easy. For me, it's the fame, you know?
Sure.
The Patreon goes 100% into Josh's pocket. So he's...
Yeah, and the feedback goes directly to my head. So, keep it coming. Love it.
Okay. AJ, what about you?
I agree with you, India. I think the community we've built is really nice. It's kind of the first time that I've been part of communities before, but I've never been one to have grown a community. And I think that's a fun feeling and feels really nice. But also I think it's cool that I got to become friends with Pete's two cool friends from college that I had only met once or twice and now have spent hours and hours and hours and hours talking to.
A comically long time.
A comically long time.
Who else did you meet?
You and what? What do you mean?
That was a joke. Guys, I think that's enough pre-banter. I do just want to say also that I watched Barbarian.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sure.
And then after Barbarian, I saw that the mother was actually this really tall guy. And then I watched them put all of the makeup and prosthetics on, and it was awesome.
I love watching time-lapse prosthetic videos. They're wild.
So good.
There's a moment where it is just a person caked in glue and makeup, and then all of a sudden it's something else.
It's really upsetting me, to think about being that person sometimes, but...
All right, throwback. Yeah, throwback to cable television. There used to be some competitive show where it was who's going to be the best
I think it was
prosthetic person.
I think it was called Netflix.
I think it was called Face Off. I know the movie is called Face Off, but I'm pretty sure the show is also called Face Off.
I don't know. All I know is I loved that show and loved seeing how people do that type of behind the scenes work. And also shout out to Barbarian. Love the movie.
Yeah, it was called Face Off. And also I do also love Barbarian.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. But I feel it's really hard to be oh my God, I loved that scary movie.
Well, India, it's a pretty postmodern film.
It's very postmodern.
I mean that legitimately. I mean that for real.
Yeah, it's very much so, AJ. Very postmodern.
Yeah.
So postmodern.
It's so postmodern. And now that I've been on this podcast, I know what that means.
Yeah.
If heroes
It's really in
being,
a conversation with itself, AJ.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's kind of in a conversation with the horror genre.
With the
AJ.
genre, right. And I think
yeah.
even the casting of Alexander Skarsgård
Oh, sure.
as just the dude in the beginning, you know, classic, everybody thinks
Bill.
he's it.
Bill
Skarsgård. Sorry, I've been watching a lot of Succession, which is the other one.
Isn't Justin Long in this flick?
He is.
Yes, he is.
Man, I loved Accepted. I watched that movie. Really a formative movie for your boy.
Yeah.
All right, is that going to be on the Patreon? I must have watched that movie dozens of times.
Because it's a
Holy
Comedy
shit.
Central one. You know, it's always on the
That's what I mean.
set.
Classic cable TV movie.
Yeah.
Not
Oh
even
my God.
not even a movie I like.
No,
Do you know what I mean?
You don't love Ask Me About My Wiener?
No.
What,
That's
you didn't
tough.
like that the 20 times that you saw it on the commercial and then you saw it in the movie and it was the exact same joke?
2 thumbs down. We got to talk about Malazan. Ton of stuff to get to
Yeah.
today.
All right. And in.
Chapter 17. But all reflects on the bone hunters and the snakes meeting with them. How the bone hunters took them in and gave them water, seeing Tavor almost as a mother. 2 days have passed since their meeting, and the thirst has taken its toll on the army. Fiddler wanders amongst the snake, thinking about the children and the bones. Banishar speaks with Tavor about Tar and defending the stores of water. Hedge discusses strategy and that Bavetic has turned some of the animals into undead. Sinter watches how the soldiers mourn children from the snake who die and reflects on their loss. Hellion speaks about why she hates spiders. Urgal speaks about the House of Chains. Ruthengud speaks about his past, Otadorol, and Ben Adafan Delit. Bottle speaks with Namkala about life, meaning, and seeing civilizations come and go. But all speaks with Tavor about the gods, the gift of wisdom, and in the end, she goes to play with the other children. Ruthen Good watches and speaks about Tavor and the Talani Mass.
So obviously we have to start, as we do all the time, with these children. But now we've met the bone hunters, like, all together, and here we are. Everybody's crossing paths, and it always happens this way.
Finally.
Right. We're all coming to that convergence of energy, and who knows what's going to come out of it. How did you... what was your thoughts? Who do I want to go to? Who likes the snake? Who's feeling snaky?
I've always kind of said Peter has a lot of snake-like attributes.
Peter's a
Oh, wow.
Peter's a snakehead. Peter just did a little snake move. All right, then I'll throw it over to you, Peter. What were your thoughts like about seeing the bone hunters, these soldiers, engaging with children that they found, and particularly Blistig's kind of like, I guess he was just kind of like being an asshole,
Oh, yeah.
and Tavor was not having it, and you see a little bit of like Tavor's kind of like protective instincts, kind of. What were your thoughts on that?
I think it's all really moving. I find it moving. I love when it gets described as like them having claws or something, and like kind of referencing Badal's earlier speech about history having claws. And I just kind of love the dreamy imagery around it. And more importantly, I just think it's so fitting, and it's kind of putting a pin or like drawing attention to the way that if we are to be thinking about and reflecting on like a call to help people or a call to like face like injustice in a way, or people who need help or suffering, that like it's like kind of represented here in its most like potent form by children, refugees, and like a willingness to embrace them, even if the bone hunters like have to kind of make this sacrifice in that way.
Not in Ron DeSantis' Florida. Say that.
Oh, getting political.
Ooh, not me.
Yeah, so I like this section. Yeah, some of the Badal stuff later is also really cool, but with Held and all that. But I actually think that's maybe in chapter 20 or something. So yeah, it's like it's cool to see these plot lines converge.
Agreed. How did you like? I just don't understand how they're in this position though to not have water. So much so that they're drinking pee. That's
well, I don't think anyone knew how big this desert was. It's like unmapped. No one's ever tried to do it, / anyone that has died. So
do they not have cars here?
Now, cars is an interesting noun.
They do not have car. They have like a horse and cart is probably the closest to a car we get.
Follow-up question, AJ. Do they have Cars, the Pixar movie starring Owen Wilson?
Well, that crosses realities. That transcends.
Well, I don't think that movie couldn't be out if there was no Cars to be based on,
No, see, it's purely fictional in this world, Josh.
It's a hypothetical.
Oh,
it's a work of speculative fiction.
So not only is if Cars could talk, it's if Cars could.
If Cars
were. Yes.
Yeah. If Cars were, they would talk. So it's not like that's just an assumption because all horses have faces and stuff. So cars must also.
By that argument though, AJ, carts don't have faces though.
Well, that's a cart, Josh.
Okay, but you just said so a horse is closer to a car than a cart is?
Yes.
I don't know.
Josh, when a car goes fast, they say it has what power?
Horsepower.
Yeah, fuck you.
You got me. I'm gonna go.
Well, don't go just yet because I have a question for you.
Okay.
So Hedge and Benedict.
Yeah.
Let's talk about these drugged horses, undead horses, drugged horses.
Yeah. I guess undead horses and undead oxen.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. I just don't know how they had this alchemist chilling for so long, being apparently the world's greatest alchemist, considering he's able to, beat death and make bombs. So, what was he doing before he met Hedge?
Just keeping a low profile.
I do think it's, I do think it's cool when he's like, when you get a little more insight into like alchemy and how that operates. That's a fun passage.
And yeah, it is definitely something. I don't know, India. I guess it's kind of cool, but I definitely understand why the Kundral are upset because, like, their horses are like so precious to them.
Yeah, what are they like? Why did they do that?
Well, because the Kundral are cavalry people, and without their horses, like, what are they even doing? And so, I guess strategically, they're like, well, if we're ever gonna fight, we need to have these horses, so may as well keep them moving. I don't know.
Are they dead or are they alive?
Well, they're undead, so yes to both.
Okay, see.
They have died, but through the use of special, I guess, chemicals and stuff. Yeah, alchemy.
And is it the question? Are they mindless undead? Has he just sort of kept the muscles moving, but the brain and soul are gone? Unclear. Do horses have souls? Definitively yes in Malazan.
Josh, horses
definitively
have souls,
yes according to Malazan. But is it still in that body? Unclear.
See,
will we get a horse POV? 50-50.
I was asking because I couldn't tell if he had put the horses into like a K-hole situation or if they were actually dead.
Okay.
Wow. No, I would say closer to dead than K-hole.
Different horse tranquilizer.
Yes.
Yeah. It was really fucking good, AJ.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you know what's great about these books is if I came out and was like, actually, yeah, Josh, there's actually, in the end, there's a 50-page POV from a horse.
Yeah, I'd be like, that's so Steve.
Classic.
I would be like, oh, here he goes again. That rascal.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
One more question, and then I want to leave these dumb snake children behind. But
Jesus.
Got bad news. They are here for the long haul, I believe.
Yeah, clearly they're survivors, even though there's so many of them. They'll die, but they just keep coming back.
Now, Indy, I have a question for you, actually.
No.
when this chapter began and we finally were like, oh, we did it, were you like, thank God we put these two storylines together, or were you more of, I wish they had just fucking died? We don't need as many POVs.
That. You can't ask me that because I'm gonna get shit on for my answer.
So you wish they were.
So you wish they were dead.
I don't wish that they were. Maybe I wish that they just found a family to take care of them.
Well, didn't they?
An eternal family.
Those people are all dead. Unfortunately.
No. I do think it was an interesting choice to have the children find like the soldiers. I think that it's going to bring a level of like, I think it has brought like a level of like not humility, because I think that they are very like, maybe the word is compassion to like their mindsets. I think that we're all getting a little dejected and jaded and just kind of over everyone dying all the time. But now it's like, oh shit, children are dying and this is sad and fucked up. Like, and that was my last question, is when Kisware, one of the children, some child dies and they all put their little things and make a little mound and they're like, aw, so sad. She says, the children bring dignity. And I thought that was, I don't know. I thought that was like cute and true. And I kind of like, yes, I said I wish that the children just, weren't there. But I do think that they bring an interesting component to the soldiers and the story. And I was wondering what you guys, like how you guys took that show of like, I guess, compassion when they all really felt something when the children are just kind of dying in droves behind them.
Yeah, I mean, I think you bring up a good point of it being like the children just kind of, or the snake showing up has given them something that they can save right now. Like they can make a difference in this moment. Whereas, they've been walking through these wastelands for however long it's been. And like the only thing that's happened is that conditions have gotten worse. They haven't changed anything. They haven't really like, they're technically working toward getting to Calance, but it's like, that doesn't pay off until you arrive, And so like these kids just showing up and them being able to like take them in and even though they're low or don't have any water or whatever, at this point, they're able to save, some of these kids. I think it introduces a bit of, I don't know. It's like you said, it introduces compassion, but it's also like, they have something that they haven't been able to have in a long time just by the snake kind of showing up. And I don't want to imply that like that's all the snake is good for, is like showing up and giving the bone hunters something to like do, because I think they serve their own purpose. But I think in this moment and in this situation, it's kind of like if the snake didn't show up, maybe stuff would have gone even worse than it does later on, Yeah,
agree. Quick little aside for Peter, just because Hellion is funny. I understand why this happens. Steve does this all the time. Like, let's do something really, really fucking sad, and then let's throw Hellion or that other dumb guy in there to make it funny.
Banishar.
Yeah, but also, no. The
Ublala?
Yes.
Sure.
Ublala.
So, yes, and also Banishar. But that was actually, there's really nothing to say there. Let's move on.
Okay, I do just want to touch in on this, to put an end on this final point. I think it's like this section and some of this snake stuff links back to that like quote about how from book 2 about like how children are dying and like the history of humanity.
Was that book 2?
Written in those words. Yeah, that's book 2.
Fuck.
And I think you can see here that it's like if you're talking about history repeating itself in a sense, like the bone hunters are acting to like save children and like to make an effort to take care of them. And be kind of caretakers to people in need, especially children, and how that is like a kind of a transformative and beautiful act. And, but I guess not in Ron DeSantis's Florida.
Jesus
am I right?
Christ.
You were making such a cool, good point.
Getting a little political on the podcast.
This podcast was recorded May 15th, 2023.
We did not know at the time that our overlord Ron DeSantis was the right answer to all problems.
Literally, I'm in prison now.
Yeah. I actually love Ron. Thanks. Sorry, I had to clear it up for the NSA.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Good people all around. Moving on.
I do. Sorry, I just to final. I do think Kissware's point after the talking about the children bringing dignity, saying that what is it? We stopped being an army long ago. I don't know what we are now. I don't think there's a person in this world who'd be able to give us a name.
It's a good line.
That's
such a great part.
It's good. And I think that also is like speaks to Pete's point as well of like, you know, children are dying is kind of a thesis of wars and stuff. And now that the Bone Hunters are able to like save children, it's like, oh, you know, that's another way that they're not like not like other armies, you know.
They're breaking the mold.
They're breaking the mold. Yeah. So, and it's
it's such an interesting thing as you get further into it, especially with the role of Tavor in it and like the kind of egalitarian nature of this, where we could really spin out. But like what is the Bone Hunters and what have they become? Really fascinating stuff.
Babysitters.
Babysitters Club.
We're not a regular army. We're a compassionate army.
Yes,
they feel.
Yeah,
and they feel big, and they feel a lot. Let's get damn well into it. The Unbound.
Yeah, baby.
Now, I'm going to send this, I think, first, because, Peter, you look very, like, excited, but I don't know if there's just things that you can't... You know what? Peter, tell me about it. How was the second read-through of this? Did you understand it anymore? Was it... Tell me.
Faces in the Rock.
That's the title of one of the books.
Of Chains. That's all I got to say, baby. What's up? The Unbound, they're here.
Yeah.
Now, can somebody explain to me, are they just like the typical bad guy that's like, we love the evil one and we came out of prison, Azkaban, you know?
I have no idea what that was supposed to convey, India.
Are they like Death Eaters, if you will?
Ah, I see.
No.
I would not describe them that way.
Well, aren't you in for a treat? Someone describe them to me.
I think here they're kind of speaking about their relationship to the House of Chains and their participation in it. And it's kind of this greater examination that's happening in this book about like what is the House of Chains and what are various players who have their relationship to it. What is that relationship like? And what does it mean to them, you know? And especially around the Crippled God. So
I would say that was really well put, and because reading it was really... See, the concept sounded cool, but when I had to read it, it was a little boring. Shocking, hot take from me. Anyway, so we get a little bit more of like Tavor's never in her head, but like around what she's doing, and somebody. Well, I think it was Ruth. Yeah, Ruth and Good's perspective of Tavor, and I don't know. I felt like I just really want a POV when she's just walking around doing her own thing. Like, and people are just like, oh, I wonder what she's doing over there. Yeah. It kills me. But moving on to, I think Lestar is a good place to go.
I do want to touch in with the Ruth and Good stuff. Like speaking of his,
there's a lot there.
Yeah. I mean, there's something very specific that I do want to talk about, but also I think generally, I always like being in Ruth and Good's head. I feel like of all of the like ancient people who have been around forever, I think Ruth and Good's POV is always the easiest to understand because he still seems like he's just a guy, in like spirit instead of like this ancient being who like has ruminated on things for 1,000 years. I guess he kept himself busy like being in the army forever, but he's like thinking about Tavor and thinking of like forbidden deadly places and saying that like sometimes it's not stories, sometimes those places actually exist and it seems like we're in one. And so it's like for me to see Ruth and Good have these thoughts of like, well, this is fucking it, is really upsetting in a way, because if he, who has seen, you know, assumedly so much, you know, life and strife, etc., for him to be like, well, this is it, it's like, oh fuck, maybe this actually really is it.
Yeah.
And then skipping ahead to the end of this section when I think it's Bottle brings up Quick Ben and Ruth and Good freaks out about it.
No, it's not Bottle. I think it's
Is it not Bottle? Who is
think
it? Is it Tavor?
I think it's Tavor.
Bottles.
Is it Bottle?
Bottles in that scene. Yeah.
Bottle is in the scene. Yeah, that's why I just assumed it was Bottle.
I don't think so, because Bottle's there because they tell Bottle that he doesn't have any more threads attached to him. And is that what prompts the? I don't think it is. I thought it was like Tavor or someone.
Oh yeah, it's Tavor. He said my sword would not be enough. We argued again and again. He said it will be answered. His words the same as yours. And then Ruth and Good said, who are you talking about? And she says Ben Adafon Delat. And he says that name. Yeah. Just really good. He calls him a cheater, or he says that Quick Ben cheats, which is
it's like the best thing about him, or something.
Yeah. So, and then Tavor tells Ruthen if she falls to take up her sword. But anyway, I like that part. I like that whole part is good.
I feel like that line about cheating is a real fist pumping line for me. I feel like it's a very cool line.
The thing about Adafon Delat's game is this: he cheats. Yeah, it's a really good Yeah, that's a cut to black, move on to the next scene moment. You know?
Oh, yeah.
Or like cut to the opening credits, something like that.
Are we going to talk about Hellion going full Joker mode? With the origin story of her.
Oh, yeah, it's so goofy.
I mean, we could talk about it, yeah.
Disgust for spiders. I just love that scene. I find it so fun. So
I think it's so fun when she talks about spiders bursting out of a guy's face. I love that.
Okay. Obviously, it's a little grim and a little grossy, but also, why are you coming for spiders like this, AJ?
It's just a fun little Hellion scene. Look, I don't have anything against spiders, mostly.
Hellion had some good scenes back in her day, back in books ago, but now
we've moved beyond her.
Yeah, Hellion's no longer a character. She is just a comedy bit.
A caricature.
Yeah.
Nice. I think it's always fun to remember that in the beginning of book 4? Is it
6?
Is it 6? I don't remember.
That's when she's introduced. Yeah, if that's what you mean.
Yes, that is what I mean. And it's a temple to Drek.
It's in the prologue of that book.
Yes, and Banishar is also connected to Drek. I just think that's a fun thing to keep in mind. I guess not for any reason.
Because Banishar is there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they get introduced together.
Yeah. So I think I don't know. That kind of, we can get to the end with Ruth and Good and Tavor and that conversation they had. But I don't really think, I don't know. It was a good it was a deep, serious conversation about life and murder. And I thought it was, I don't know. This chapter to me was pretty heavy, I think, with all of the sad, dead children stuff. It was a brutal chapter.
Definitely.
And it just didn't let up, which I kind of was like, it was a hard chapter to read for me, but I really liked it. I thought it was a pretty good, I was excited that this was the starting chapter. A, it wasn't that long. B, I really enjoyed the content. I think for once I actually did enjoy the sneak and how they're coming together with the Bone Hunters. And I think that it's going to be an interesting journey. Wink, wink. Any closing thoughts before we move on to chapter 18?
Let's move it on. Let's thank the people who have backed us on Patreon.
Yeah.
This week, we'd really like to give a special thank you to our one Patreon subscriber since our last episode, and it means so much to us. So to you, Mike, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate it. And thank you to all of our patrons over on our Patreon. For $3, you can access to just a whole bunch of audio stuff, a couple of videos, and some things that are upcoming as well. But thank you again, Mike, for backing us since we last recorded.
Mike. All right, let's move on.
Let's move on.
Chapter 18. Quick Ben and Manala free Kalam from the Azath house. Afterwards, Shadowthrone speaks with the soldier Temper about their return. Sister Belle of the Forkrell Assail parleys with Perrin. They speak of Calance, hunting, and the battle to come. Ganos introduces himself as the master of the deck, then disappears. He tells Nodo Boyle to prepare for an assault. Picker hears from Blue Pearl an order from Whiskey Jack. Treach has a need for her and is wearing the Torques again. She must leave the city. Shirk speaks with Hood about death and those who have escaped his realm. They also speak of Tavor and the death of Felison. Falash speaks about the parish, but is called up by Shirk. A Forquil Assail ship is approaching them. They are threatened by the forces, but the handmaidens defend the ship and kill the Forquil Assail. Draconis leaves Ubala to his destiny. Brother Diligence speaks with reverence about the state of the Forquil Assail forces and the parish joining them. Garul saves Krugava and thinks about the coming clash of elder powers. Abrastal and Spax discuss the Barghast and how they have changed over time. They also discuss Tool and what he will do. Faint and Precious Thimble move towards the K'chain Chamal and discuss the Forquil Assail and their god, their war with the K'chain Chamal, and the Malazan's relationship to the K'chain. Tanakalian speaks to his soldiers about the coming battle and being worthy. Setak arrives, declaring that Tanakalian is unworthy. But the Wolves of Winter declare there to be only enemies around them, and they tear apart Setak. Gruntle and Kalava fight. The first dragon comes through the gate and Gruntle tries to stop it, but so many keep coming through, and Gruntle is deeply wounded. He thinks on Trake, his flaws, and then his final thought is of Stony. Gruntle dies. Kalava thinks about this death, respecting Gruntle, and wondering if she did the right thing.
There's actually like a lot of shit to unpack there. So let's start with Quickbed and Manala were able to get Kalam out of the Azath house.
Mm.
I figured that seemed pretty unfair, but I wasn't mad at it.
What do you mean it seemed unfair?
Because, like, I thought you weren't allowed to leave the Azath house.
Well, okay, yeah. But the thing about Edifan Dalat, he cheats.
Oh, shit.
One thing about him, he's a cheater.
He's a cheater.
He's a cheater. Wednesdays on FX.
Nice.
Boom.
I just want to quick hop in and apologize for any like rumbling sounds. My dog is going so hard on a chew toy right now. So I apologize if that gets picked up. And if it doesn't, this will be cut out. So
listen, I know Kalam's back, but I wanted to shout out the Temper cameo. Shout out to Temper, round 2, baby.
So did we know Temper was the guardian of the Azath house?
I love Temper. That's all I gotta say. Shout out to the Esselmont girlies, you know?
And Temper was a bridge burner who gave up bridge burning to be the guardian of the Azath house?
Why don't you check out a little book called Knight of Knives, Joshua?
Should I not? I was gonna Google it. Should I not Google it?
You can Google it. He's a primary character in that book. He's a recurring Esselmont character.
We also get a Storm Wielder drop at one point in one of these chapters. I heard that and I was like, hey, that's a book.
That is a book. Do you mean Stone Wielder?
Stone Wielder, that's what I meant.
Anyway, enough of this. Yes, he's back. Kalam
is back. I don't remember Temper, so that's interesting.
I think he has a cameo in book 6 too.
He's a guy, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, he's a guy.
I do want to say, now that we've officially seen Kalam, #FreeKalam, from we've seen him be, I got lost in the bit. We've seen him be freed from the Azath. That does now bring into question who is the other person who was alongside who we assumed was Apsalar, I think. Like 2 books ago.
Oh yeah, we did, but it was Manala. Crazy.
Oh.
It's gotta have been Manala. Like, here she is, you know?
Yeah.
Crazy. Who here forgot Kalam was married? Me. I did. 100%.
But Josh, his 1,000 children who they sent to war or whatever.
Yeah. You know, somewhere in the midst of the, I don't know, mountains of dead children in this series, I forgot about these ones.
Children are dying, you know?
Yeah.
Children are dying.
Those ones died too. Didn't they send them to war and they all died?
They were defending the throne of Shadow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then Shadow Throne comes back. He and Temper are, just having a little moment. My question is, I obviously hate any time that these elder or gods, well, I don't even know what they are at this point, but Temper is obviously like, I guess, a really old. Is Temper dead?
That's what I was just asking, and Peter refused to answer it. If Peter answers now, then that's some bullshit.
There's oh no, never mind. That's about Shadowthrone.
I think Temper sounds like the guardian of the Azath house, and I straight up asked, and Peter wouldn't say anything.
Oh.
I really loved Shadowthrone in this section.
See, okay, there it is. Shadowthrone was very good in this scene, I will agree.
I just love the cane. The cane's a great little prop, you know?
Guys, what's the over-under on Peter having a cane by the time they're rolled?
Oh.
I mean, I think it's 85% that Peter becomes a cane.
Yeah.
An old cane
Fashion
person,
cane.
yeah.
Sure.
And then the question is just like, is it like a subtle diamond on top or like a really big snake head?
I think it's got to be some sort of like dragon or something.
Okay.
I think a dragon's too over the top.
Maybe it's a picture
would
of
never
your
be
face,
a wolf.
Josh. Maybe it's your head.
I love that. I'd sit for that portrait right now.
All right. So moving on to the next scene, which I thought was actually really interesting because, well, the Dark Academia for Gorilla Sale that are also just like these terrifying creatures. I hate their names. They piss me off. This book, book that we're reading now, these chapters, really, the names just infuriate me. And I don't know why, but the parlay with Perrin, Sister Belle was a little, I would say.
Sorry, I just want to clarify. Pete wrote Belle in the summary, but it's belie, as in to give false representation to or misrepresent.
That makes sense.
Thank you.
I feel so dumb. Thank you, AJ. That's awesome. I love that.
So Sister misrepresent is in the house talking to Ganos.
Yes, so true. Belie.
Duh.
And Perrin were chatting. She was a little cocky, I would say. And I think that she definitely maybe underestimated our boy.
Uh-huh.
Our boy with the tummy problems. No more tummy problems. He has come to play. And he's not playing games anymore, actually. So,
Forgot about the tummy troubles.
I can't forget.
India hasn't. He's badass in this scene. It's great.
He is incredible.
Now, I'm going to hit this one over to with like a volleyball toss, actually, to Josh. Tell me everything tell me all of your thoughts on this scene. What'd you like about it?
I mean, I just am glad that we have not forgotten about Perrin because I was a little worried last episode that we weren't going to ever hear from his storyline again. Also really like that. Is this the scene where they're like, okay, guys, if you haven't caught on, watered means they're watered down, they're less powerful. And then below the water, I think that's this scene where like someone does do that. And I was like, that is like a thing that people constantly like hype Steve up about, is that Steve does not do that. And honestly, I felt a little insulted. I was like, Steve, it's book 10. We're 7 books into book 10. Come on. Trust your reader, Steven.
I will just say, I feel like that's a little overhyped sometimes. I feel like there's lots of explanations in the books, you know?
Definitely.
Just my official opinion.
There definitely are.
Yeah.
I think the
After
book gets a bad rap from Gardens of the Moon. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Because as much as it does give you explanation for things, even in Gardens of the Moon, it sure does also throw a lot of stuff at you.
Anyway.
But really, really cool scene. Love that Perrin is finally like learning how to use his fucking Deck of Dragons powers. That's pretty cool. Maybe wish there was a bit more clarity about those powers and how he finally got them working so well. But, I'll take what I can get at this point. For all I know, Perrin's storyline picks up in an Esselmont book, and how funny would that be? I guess we'll find out one day.
I do think it's fun that he just disappears, does a side quest, and comes back 5 levels stronger.
So powerful. Yeah. And then, who doesn't love Noto Boyle, our fave?
Of course.
I also love that like Perrin's whole strategy is just like be so fucking confident that they think they're going to need to wait and get more power.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what their strategy is for when they actually bring all those legions. So other than maybe Gano-S Perrin is the Perrin being sacrificed. Maybe he's trying to draw the legions there so that his sister has an easier time to get into clans. Who knows? But cool stuff.
I also just like the whole classic Malazan. The whole section about the King of Kalan stuff is like a fun metaphor and just kind of I don't know. I love that. That's the type of stuff I'm into. So
Yeah. I do like when he's talking to Noto Boyle and he's like, oh, where's Ormolgan? I need him to make me an etching. I love that he's here. We're here with the frog.
They did say that. So does that mean, okay, well then logically then I guess like if he draws something, is that how he disappears into it? Right? He can just make a new card. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I love that he drew the card and then was like, and then when Sister Valai looked into it, he was like, come on in.
Yeah.
It's a cool place to hang out. And then immediately is like, no, you're too smart for that. I get it. Okay. Like, I love that he doesn't even like give a second for her to like think about it. He's like, come in, never mind. It's good stuff and it's cool and I like it.
Yeah, I think he definitely, this is just a very different Perrin than I think. Like and it's just been a really interesting character development for him. And in that way, I appreciate having read these books for the last 15 years. But just the way he even engages with her and like mocks her when she talks to him, especially her being such like she thinks that this is like nothing, that he's an idiot and that he's so foolish. And he's just like, oh, just wait. You have no idea. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Which is great. It's like how every Forkroller sale starts every conversation with like, you dumb idiot. You fucking worm.
Your disease is arrogance, and now it's my job to make sure you... And they're also dumb.
And India, to your point, I love the name of the Forkroller sale because it's just like so funny and fun to me. Yeah. But I do agree, it is deeply confusing to keep track of them. And if you were like, oh, which one's which and who's who, it's like, okay, wait, so Calm's this one. I got, it doesn't help in keeping them clear in my mind as characters, but I do love that idea as a part of those, like, and conceptually, I guess.
Yeah, you always know who they are as a group. Just individually, it's like, I couldn't tell you.
Sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know where to go next. Do we go?
A little Picker. We see Picker. Long time no see for Picker.
That was a wild detour for this chat. I mean, we're really just bringing everyone back. Oh, did you have a storyline on another continent? Nah. Gotta get over here.
Yeah, it's definitely like a lot of random small scenes that I think could be talked about, but also there's just like not much to say. It's like a sentence conversation here or there.
Did anybody else in the Picker scene, they talk about the pickled Segula warriors? Did anybody else read that and go, oh, the Segula, weird that you brought them up? And then, 2 scenes from now felt pretty hype. I did. I loved it.
That speaking of, I was going to ask how you guys felt about that whole scene on the ship. Very fun stuff.
I started kind of putting the pieces together because I was like, well, we only know of so many fierce warrior tribes. And clearly it's not actual magic that's making her powerful. She's just fucking badass. Although shocked that they, canonically, they don't take the masks off. Felt kind of hand-wavy to be like, it took so much convincing for them to lose the masks as like our hint that they're Segula. But like every other one has been like only on pain of literal death would I take this off.
Yeah. Well, I guess they were just very persuasive,
Apparently so. There
was a good scene with Shirk, and the only reason I appreciated it is because they brought up my girl Felison.
Oh yeah,
it was a crazy. It was really interesting.
It was disturbing when I believe it was like, I think that the overall thing is just like Felison saw her sister killing her, and Shirk was like, I wonder if she's only doing this because she killed her sister and she's just like on a redemption tour. And then it's like,
what did you think of that, India?
I said, well, no, Shirk, unfortunately, she doesn't even know, so she can't even feel bad about it. And then Shirk has the same thought. And then what really pissed me off was when Hood was like, yeah, and it doesn't matter. I was like, oh, okay. It doesn't matter. She'll never know.
Well, it's like, if she found out, like, what good does that do? That's always been my stance on it. She already thinks Felison was dead. So, like, why does she need to know that she killed her? Because she already thinks that she killed her by sending her to the mines, Isn't that punishment enough?
Just doesn't feel like it. But let's talk about this handmaiden. she's just a little scrappy, you know? And I don't remember if we ever found out who or what she is.
Yeah.
So that's what we were talking about with Peter and I about the Segula. So that the handmaiden is one of the Segula.
She is the Segula.
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Oh, okay. I missed that also.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they're saying. Like, oh, they showed up and there were 7 of them, but 1 died, but they don't talk about that. And then maybe there were 12 of them or something. And then the last sentence is such a hard time convincing them to take the masks off. And I think that's what I was saying. They mentioned the pickled Segula because it's been like, I don't know, 2 books since we thought about those people. So this way you don't forget about the masked warriors. Is the Segula in book 8 unmasked? They are, aren't they, right? There's like weird ones working for spite or envy.
Yeah.
Aren't they unmasked? They had not Knuckles. What's their fucking names?
I forgot their names.
I
they
think-
all have names. I don't know them.
Yeah. I think they were unmasked, Josh. I think you're right.
You should really read the Esselmonts. There's a lot of Segula stuff in Orb Scepter Throne.
Well, they tell there's a whole plot line on One-Eyed Cat, right?
All right, let's move on. Ubala's headed off to his destiny. AJ, what do you think Ubala's getting up to?
I mean, he's got his dreams, you know, he's got that mace and armor or whatever, or just the mace. I don't remember if there's a second piece to that.
It's armor and mace, yeah.
So that's going on. I think it's sad that he's sad that Draconis is leaving. That made me sad. Because rarely do we get people like being like, this is the last time I'll see you, farewell. Usually it's like, all right, I'll see you in 4 seconds, and then they get turned into dust, and it's like, oh my god, this person's dead now. But this is like a prolonged, like, I am going to miss you, my friend, goodbye, and then they hug, and it's nice.
Yeah.
Why did Relata want him to kill Draconis?
I don't remember why she
like
doesn't
classic
like
Relata.
Is she just like jealous?
No, I think she's afraid of what he's gonna go do.
Yeah,
her character also kind of is not my favorite. I feel like that character is very poorly used in some ways.
It's underutilized, I think, because I remember when we first, this whole threesome all came together, I remember feeling like I knew what Relata wanted and what her motivations were, and I feel like that was an entire book ago, and I've now forgotten.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, I truly don't even remember where she came from. But
Pete, do you care to shed some light on that?
Well, she was with a hunting party of Barghast that got attacked by the Krell hunter, Shigal assassin, that guy. The one that flies in the sky. And she was the one that got banished from the party because she was the eldest. And then she came back, they were all dead. And she was like, I'm going to find their killer and avenge us.
Wow, Josh. So you do remember.
yeah, what the fuck?
Yeah, but I just find like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
Hey, but the fact that you forgot means that like, when's the last time any of that got brought up?
No, yeah, but I feel like the three of us all just said like, yeah, I don't remember what happened.
Sometimes I like to agree so that I don't have to talk so much, and that's something you can learn about Josh
an
Baker.
Audio medium, my friend.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I have like no idea what's going on. Yeah? Okay, well, just roughly.
Roughly the exact plot beats to how we got where we are.
I'm so sorry, everybody.
I do appreciate the context, Josh. I really do. And I do think I agree that she is underutilized in these scenes. I feel like these scenes are largely about, if they're not just about Ublala, they are about Ublala and Draconis' relationship. And then she is kind of there like, you should kill him if she ever speaks at all. So that's how I feel about these scenes.
India, so we hear the Forkul Assail talking about the parish here, and I wonder what you think about, well, we can get to the parish in a sec. I'd be curious to hear what you think about their conversation.
Yeah. What is the parish? What is that? Is that the cloud?
Like Tanakalian and all of them.
The gray
Yeah,
the gray
so they're the
swords.
gray helms, but they come from the land of Parish.
Oh, Jesus Christ. What are they?
That's just
humans.
the people that worship the wolves with Tanakalian and the Mortal Sword.
Yeah, they're just humans.
Okay.
Kurgava used to be with them.
Why are they working? Wait, okay. Confused.
I'm with you, India. I think this is a very vaguely explained thing that happens here. Peter, can I take a stab and then you tell me?
Oh, sure, take whatever.
Do you agree?
I do agree because, okay, what annoys me is we have not seen this fleet since book 7.
Right.
6, 7. Since book 7. It's the last time we saw this fleet as they left the prison island. They've been going around the continent. And you're telling me that they arrive in Calance and they say, you know, the shield anvil Tanakalian, I know he only took over approximately 5 seconds before we left, but I've learned enough about him that I think this crazy long string of thoughts about our purpose in life and why we shouldn't have been sworn to the Malazans. And therefore, I think he's probably also beaten down the Mortal Sword, you know, the one that's led us for 35 years. I think he probably beat her in a battle of will, and now he leads them, and therefore we agree with you guys. We're going to be with you guys now. And that just seems like a crazy fucking setup to me.
It's
especially knowing that everything that's happened in and around this desert cannot have been communicated to anybody, right? Period. Fact.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a pretty big leap in logic for the character here talking. It's like, furthermore, we are certain that our shield anvil has concluded much the same.
That's
and that
what
he
I'm
is
saying.
now at odds
Like,
with the mortal sword.
Right, and we've seen Tanakalian go through such a fucking inner battle about this stuff, and yet somehow this fleet captain's like, I got there too. 100% here with you.
Well, he's also been going through that inner battle, Josh, so.
I guess so, just off screen for literally 3 books. That's the best I've got, India. And the reason they're allying is because these two guys have decided the real purpose of the wolves is to destroy humanity, and the Malazans are humanity, therefore we should go against them. Not stopping to consider that the Forkal Assail care nothing for nature and are just as big of enemies as nature as humans are in some ways. Fucking stupid. And I don't really buy that motivation, and it really frustrates me.
Okay, Josh, I don't know if I can really articulate it that well, but you are 100% wrong, and you sound like a clown on the show.
Thank you.
Wow.
I say that with love, my honey boo-boo.
That sounded loving.
I guess, I don't know, like, I totally get what you're saying. I mean, it's a big change, and I understand if you, like, don't connect with the, like, motivation. To me, I always have, and I think I, like, it, like, on, like, a character thing of feeling like, oh, do we owe the Malazans this level of, like, loyalty? Do you know what I mean? Of this level of devotion, especially coming from, like, the Grey Helms and, like, people who are, like, kind of religious in that sense and are members of this order, and from a different part of the world. Do you mean, like, to have that level of dedication? I mean, I think if you look at the Malazan soldiers in the Bone Hunters, who themselves, even within their own ranks, have serious questions about whether they want to be that devoted to the cause, whether they're that devoted to Devor, you know, and they have way more longer of a history. And that's contrasted to the Grey Helms here, who have way less of a connection than some of the soldiers who march with Devor. So not only on that character level does it kind of make sense to me, but I also feel like on this, like, thematic conceptual level, it also kind of groks with the ideas going on, like you were kind of talking about with them kind of turning against humanity. So, I mean, I think his rationale is a little heady, but to me, I much more read it in that emotional way, although the rationale in that kind of conceptual thing, I also find interesting.
Okay, so here's my 2 responses to you. In my 2, I guess they're both questions. Assuming everything you just said is right, my questions are, the Grey Helms are an entire society that has existed for generations and has famously always been loyal to their 3 leaders. And at the time that this fleet departed, the only real leader was the Mortal Sword. And so your Tanakalian being greedy and selfish is like the one, from what we've been told, the one time that seems to have happened in the Grey Helms, because they so fiercely go against the greed of humanity and thinking selfishly. So you're telling me that not only did a Tanakalian do it, but the second guy did, and both times convinced everyone. And secondly, why does that guy continue taking his fleet to the Forkal Assail? How does he also come to the same conclusion that the Forkal Assail, that he pretty much knows nothing about? Because as we've seen, the armies have learned most of this information on the way to Calance when they've not been able to communicate with anybody. So how does he get all that info and come to the same conclusion?
Josh, I totally hear you, and I'm not saying you're wrong about those things. And as I said, if you
well, you did start off your whole argument with you're wrong and an idiot and dumb. So
okay, I did not say that. I said you were a clown, but
yes,
I love you, honey boo boo. And listen, okay, that was just me being jokey and funny but playing a little banter for the show.
Keep going.
But I guess what I mean is, I don't have a real big answer to those questions, Josh. But to me, and that's why fundamentally, I think if you just don't buy that, you're not going to buy it, and that's that. Do you mean? I understand if you don't feel that way.
Okay.
AJ, India, how did you feel?
I think part of it is that for us, it just kind of like shows up and happens. But I think we're supposed to believe that they've been talking to one of the Four Krill Assail, whether it's Sister Reverence or Brother Diligence or whoever.
Well, they've been talking since they arrived here, but they were not supposed to start communications. They were supposed to blockade. And the fact that they even entered into negotiations implies that at some point they were like, I think we're going to join with these guys. Because otherwise they would have never spoken with them. Well,
Josh, I got to say, you have a much firmer grasp of what's happening than I do, it seems. But also, like, what if the parish just like, what if they were like, let's go on vacation, and they just went somewhere else? That's what I'm saying.
To me, a more reasonable solution is to return to their homeland, think on things, and then from there elect new leaders that align with their new mentality. But instead,
Josh, we don't elect the leaders here, as is proven later.
Oh, you're right. I guess
we don't elect Destriate, Mortar Sword, Shield Anvil. They are chosen.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong. Although the person currently telling people that they're chosen is the mortal, it gets a little hinky.
India, what did you think of this here?
I did.
Well, it sounded like you had it. Sorry. You say your thing. Yeah.
No, you say my thing.
Well, I was just going to say, it sounded like you had a question before Josh went into his whole diatribe.
Sorry. I was very passionate.
Never apologize for your passion. But to be fair, I don't remember. That conversation definitely went in a direction that I was not expecting. And now I don't remember.
I did want to say all the stuff we learned about the Four Krill Assail here through the conversation around Faint and Precious Thimble. Love this whole section about the whole thing. So just love I find the backstory here around this history really compelling, and the stuff around the Four Krill Assail. God, cool.
Oh, the stuff with what's her face, like telling her what the Kachin Shamal feel, right? You're talking about that stuff? That's so good, so interesting.
And the divers
the divers are. So that was their god. That was a crazy reveal.
That's so cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
So fucked
really
up.
Good.
What a payoff. Another one. We're really getting
I was just really excited to have that whole thing come back, because sometimes we do just be learning that things are gods and then we leave it there.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I do love that it was like the Four Krill Assail are so like self-righteous and stuff that they're like, oh, well, our god just doesn't get it. We have to kill our god because we get it and they don't. I think that's I agree, Pete. I think that's real good shit.
Brutal stuff.
It's just, they're just big old hypocrites, aren't we all though? Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Yeah. I do like the idea of the Age of Adjudication. I think that's just a great name for a time.
It's a really good name.
Yeah.
Queen, let's go to the Queen of Brastel and Spax discussion. So I actually really liked this scene. I totally agree that I feel like morale is obviously low. Everyone's just kind of marching toward their death, and that kind of sucks. There's really no silver lining in sight or anyone that can save the day. And that's kind of brutal. But question for, I guess, AJ is what was your thoughts of this, and where do you think that they're all going?
Yeah, I mean, I think I love the dynamic between Brastel and Spax. I said in the last episode, I think, that I just love Spax as a character now in this book, which I'm really happy for. I do just want to point out, Ryan in our Discord said that called Spax a bratty sub, which I think is really
wow, yeah,
really good.
A bratty sub is so good. Oh my god, I love it.
It really is.
Yeah, so now that that's out of the way, I've been sitting on that since this episode started. I wanted to bring it up so bad.
So impressed with your restraint.
Thank you. I do like this conversation about the difference between the white faces and the Gilk and stuff. I think that's interesting. And also somebody else in our Discord, Plugo, pointed out that Spax kind of treats the Gilk as more of a mercenary company instead of a tribe or a clan. And so that's kind of also just talking about the differences between the way that the whiteface Barghast and the Gilk kind of function, which I just thought was an interesting thing to point out. And then when when she's like, so what are you going to do to inspire your warriors? And he says, I'm going to shame them, I think is a really great,
I'm excited to learn whatever that means.
Yeah, well, it seems like a kind of a Captain Kindly move, right? Like you need to give them something to unify against.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to make them feel really shitty, and I'm going to be really mean to them, and that's going to get that'll do it. I love that. That's so fun.
What did you think about the whole like his perspective on like following his gods and the path they took? AJ, he talks about like they revived their young gods, and then they were given their weapons of old that had all this like steeped history, and they were like, you're gonna go find your enemy, and then they, you know, all they found was fucking this.
I mean, I that feels like a commentary to me. It's like it's the specifics of it, I think, like how Pete was reading that we were just talking about, that I have already forgotten about Josh's strong feelings about. I think this is also kind of like one of those, like, you know, trying to, and I think it goes along with the themes of the rest of at least these last two books, of like trying to build a society in a new way using old ideas, you know, and how that's kind of a thing that like you're just it's bound to not work out, and so that's really all I kind of have to say about it. That bit didn't grab me as I was reading it, and so that's kind of where I've come up now, because I'm struggling to remember the white face relationships to their gods and stuff, because I think that's also,
I don't remember a ton on it.
That's what I'm saying. Well, I feel like that's important context.
Their gods were like closed off for them. They were kind of young, and they didn't know how, they weren't really that powerful, and then they found those ships underneath Kapustan, and that kind of held a lot of relics for them and gave them an introduction into their history, and then I think they kind of had a renewed relationship with their gods, but then we didn't talk about it for 5 books after that. I
forgot about the Kapustan like boats underneath.
Yeah, the boats under that big temple that had all the gods, that had their like priests, their god priests or whatever they were called.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do want to quickly touch on, because I do have a question. So the Perish are the wolf people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay. Then I was reading, and I saw that they have a shield anvil who's Tanakalian, who fucking sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But Setok is a Destriant.
Yes, which they've been missing.
That was revealed, yes.
That was the big reveal, right? Which was funny because I didn't know that it was missing. So it didn't really feel like a reveal. It just felt like finding out that Setok was a Destriant. What does that mean? And how is that possible? And is that what you meant before when you were like, it's not like they choose?
Yes, that is what I meant.
Okay. Are Tanakalian, and Setok, are they going to like, do they even know each other? Do they even like each other?
Well, Tanakalian has met Calith now. Setok now. And the mortal sword was saved by the Shigal assassin. Is just like barely alive, so probably going to be a minute.
Okay.
I mean, he was chosen by the mortal sword, but then she constantly refers to him as her greatest mistake. Yeah. That she shouldn't have done that.
And in the beginning of Dust of Dreams, the Destriant, the old Destriant dies in front of Tanakalian, and he's like, "Let me save you," and then that Destriant's like, no, and melts into goo or something.
Yeah. And I don't know if we really ever get an explanation for that one, do we?
No. I mean, I'm sure, let's see.
He was doing something he shouldn't have been.
These words, we will not be judged, you wield swords, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, if anything, if it was going to come up at some point, I feel like it would be in this section when Setok is like opening her mouth to be the Wolves of Winter phone. And that's just
so cool.
That part rules. But it does not clear up why. Maybe because no. Well, do you think the other Perish arrived and were already like talking to the Forker Lasalle at that point, and maybe it's because of that they were like, well, your faith is tainted or something?
No, that was months and months apart.
I know, that's what I'm saying, but like I don't know.
All right. India, how did you feel about this Gruntle Kalava stuff and the death of Gruntle?
I felt sad, but also I was never super attached to Gruntle, but yeah, very sad though. Like just Steve writes it intentionally to be really sad. So if he wasn't like, oh my God, the last thing I thought of was Stony and la la la. I wouldn't have cared that much, but I did find that was kind of depressing and sad. And like, I hate when I love the love, and I hate when they kill the people and make one of them sad. So that blows, but still really good.
AJ, Josh?
Nope.
Also really sad. It was one of those things where I started that section and then it didn't click what was happening until like a page and a half in, and then I was like, wait a second, and I had to go back and read it again, which made it doubly sad.
Yeah, I feel like it's a useless death, and that makes me bummed out.
Well, I think yes, I agree with you, Josh, but it does bum me out as well. But I also think this goes along with like when the dragon, I can't remember the Oteadral dragon's name, is revealed at the end of the last book, and it's like, no plans now, who fucking knows? Like, part of me feels like, you know, this. And to be fair, they were standing at the gate, so like, what did we think was going to happen? Like, obviously,
I just don't understand why he felt like he needed to do that fight. Like, because even if he kills Kalava, he can't not, you know, Starfall Demolade's gonna open. He can't stop it. I have not understood his motivation very well. I
think his motivation is just fuck Treach.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
And Kalava is Treach's mom, so he's like, fuck your mom. I'm gonna kill your mom using your power, you bastard.
I don't love it, but yeah.
I agree with everything you said. That's basically my feelings. It makes me sad, but I do am somewhat confused by the whole thing. Like, I understand, you know, but I don't feel compelled by it, you know?
Yeah.
Agreed.
What did you think about the Kalava POV being the end of that section? Either of you?
Sad.
Yeah. Also sad.
Interesting to get it, yeah. All right, let's move on. Chapter 19,
Woo!
Big battle time.
Chapter 19. Withel decides that it's time to fight, and puts on some armor that he finds. He and Sandalith fight about Soldier's sacrifice, and she remembers a meeting between Animander Rake and Spinach Durav. Withel storms into battle, realizing now that neither side will surrender. He sees Yedendarig, but cannot spot Twilight. Jan Tovis watches Yedan fight. She thinks about annihilation and the value of her freedom. She and Yedan wordlessly agree to pull their forces back. Sandalith is in a dream state between reality and memory when Spinach Durav shows up. They speak about Karkanas and the cursed blood of the Alaint. Spinach then hears the fighting at Lightfall and goes to rally the Tistandi. Namander is with Corlat. He fights the call of the Alaint. Corlat says Solana will burn the realm to the ground because of Sandalith. Namander goes to try and tell the Queen to call Solana off. Absolara is looking for her armor. She remembers where she got it and thinks of the futility of the Jaghat's battle against death. Aparal Forge stands on the other side of the rent. He thinks about the city of Seranus and its downfall. A dying soldier tells Forge that they honor their enemy, humans that fight like demons. The soldier tells Forge of the one-man Hust Legion, and Forge pledges to kill him. Namander runs through the city thinking of Animander Rake and Pale. He runs into Absolara, who tells him that Sandalith has gone insane. Absolara and Spinach and his legions will join the Sheikh. Spinach rallies the Andi, telling them how Rake did not fail them, and that strangers fight for them now. A dragon roars. Sandalith speaks to Animander Rake about her son, Orphan Tall. Rake is really Namander, and he tells her she must release Solana. She does not budge. Charles stands by Brevity as Jan Tovis kneels to her people. The Leosian advance, and 3 of them veer into dragons. Yedan kills the veered Aperal Forge, but is badly wounded. Korlat reaches the battle and turns into a dragon. Twilight feels Pulley and Squish die. She reaches Yedan, who says he finally sees home. He dies. Nimander wishes for Apsalara to show up and ease his burden between fighting his blood and the need to kill Sandalith. Fade shows up instead. Fade convinces Sandalith that if she does not release Solana, Orphan Tall will die. Eventually, Sand gives in and is told to hide in her room. Fayed tells Nimander to go to the shore. She'll keep Sandalith company. Apsalara saves Withel and says that he can keep her armor, for now. Brevity saves Sharl, and they pledge to be friends till the end. Zevgan drools and other members of the Sheikh army that are unfit to fight talk of their pasts. Spinnock's legions enter the fray. Khadgar Fant begins to look for Yantovis, but is surprised by the Andi legions, and then by Solana, who knocks him to the ground. He sembles and begs to be taken as a hostage. Korlat kills him. Korlat watches as the Andi slaughter the remaining Leosin and head through Lightfall. She is shocked by the amount of Sheikh that have died. Apsalara asks for her armor back. Withel begins doffing the armor and sees the Andi kneeling to the Sheikh. He wants Yantovis and the rest to see, but Apsalara tells him not yet. Nimander and his siblings arrive. Nimander, weeping, asks Korlat if she'll go to see her mother. Korlat refuses, saying Orphan Tall was the only child she cared about. Korlat asks Yantovis if she may stand at her side as the sister of night. Yantovis refuses at first, but Korlat says she is not pure of blood, and Twilight accepts. Withel's heart breaks. One more time. Sharl is dying. Brevity weeps, but Sharl is done with that. The Sheikh and Letheri let loose cries for Yedan Derig. Yantovis welcomes her brother home.
All right, so here we are. We're at the shore. Oh my gosh. Yantovis. Who else? All of our... Oh, Yedan Derig or whatever. And
can we just call him Greg? It's so close.
No, we can.
I'm gonna start calling him.
Why
Greg.
don't we call him Dan? It's in his name.
All right, so Dan Greg, what's he doing?
Dan and Jan.
Dan, Dan Greg and his sister Tovis.
His aunt Ovis.
Okay. Anyway, so big war. No one's stopping. Everyone's fighting. Everyone's dying. And our good pal, who's dating the queen.
Withel.
Damn.
Love Withel.
Yeah, Withel's like, I'm gonna get my hands dirty. Who's coming with me? And GF says, no thanks. I actually don't want to watch all of my people die right now, so maybe not. And then Withel's actually, I think, a little bit kind of rude in his response, and he's just like, oh, can't believe you don't want to do that with me. Where do you stand? Because I stand very much with girl whose name I don't remember.
Sandalith?
Jesus. Goodness. Withel and Sandalith. Yes.
Yeah.
Whose side are you on?
Oh, man. I don't think it's that simple. I mean, as much as we boil stuff down to its basest parts, I feel like this one is there's so much here baggage wise that I feel like it's hard to choose a side. Well,
I understand both sides.
Yeah.
There are good people on both sides.
There's good people on both sides. And I can't decide which one I end up on, if I'm being totally honest.
Let me help you out, AJ. So one of them's being a little pushy and maybe asking the other one to like go down and to a dangerous scenario and possibly lose their lives. Not great. The other one is controlling a dragon and saying, let's commit a genocide.
Okay, well, I guess that's fair, you know?
Okay.
Reductive, yes.
So what I'm hearing is AJ's pro-genocide.
That's what I heard. Well, and also I guess so am I technically. But
okay. I just want to come out and again say I'm anti-genocide. That's one of my things.
Also anti-genocide. I did forget about the dragon somehow.
Me too.
I just more meant I feel like I understand where both those characters are at. And
definitely.
It's I think it's very interesting to hear about Sandalith's past and have that be brought into the present in this moment and how it's kind of affected.
And that's what I meant when I was talking about baggage. It's like it's so much more than just like come fight with me. No, like there's so much more stuff that Sandalith is dealing with in this moment that I can't really fault her for not wanting to just like go start fighting in this moment.
I agree.
100%.
But it's tough because Withel's like, look, I'm going to do the one thing that I can see has direct results. And if you don't want to like have results, if you're not a girl boss like me, then I guess you just sit on your throne and I'll go do some stabbing. But I do think there's a line at the end of that section. As Withel was leaving, he was like, I had to do that so that she didn't feel like she was losing me or something. Like we had to have a fight so that she hated me in this moment or something so I could die.
It was something like that.
Something like that. I can't find the line, and that's sad. And I don't think, and anytime that ever comes up in media, I'm like, you're so fucking wrong. That's never the answer. It's always, it never works. It never works. It just ends up with two very sad people instead of it doing what what the one person wants it to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then we see Jan Tovis, and she's like, I just don't know why I couldn't have just said, yeah, you can take it over. You can win. Because this is shitty. So I agree. This was a really kind of brutal.
Do we? Oh God! Can I just say tonight? Can I jump ahead a little bit to a connection I just made?
I think so. Yeah, I think jump.
Do we like the symmetry of Calor delivering the news to the Tisti Leosian of their daughter's death versus Calor being the one that kills Sandalith's son?
Whoa!
Kind of responsible on both ends there.
Wow.
Whoa!
Just made that connection just now, and it feels that's a fucking beautiful.
Josh, you are on a
thing.
fucking roll this evening.
Yeah, you're on fire.
I hadn't made that connection. Josh is always being a star.
I will say Josh messaged us in the chat, and in retrospect, it's very funny because Josh said, did we know that Sandalith has a kid and who that kid is? And I said, yeah, this was a reveal last book. It's Corlat. And then Josh did not respond because I hadn't read that part yet where it's like, Orphanthal's my son.
Yeah.
Okay. Time out on everything Karkanas related.
Yes.
We have to put the Tisti storyline down.
Sorry.
Lots of times I don't bring stuff up on the show because I'm like this, I'm trying to like center your guys' readings, you know? And if you guys don't pick up on something, I'm usually not going to bring it up. Okay. But we are so at the end, and it was mentioned, I think, in the last chapter, and it was mentioned earlier, and we've never talked about it. We do hear about the fate of Malik Rel and maybe what he's up to.
Yeah, there is some stuff with him and the Empress, right?
Yeah, he's like taken over her seat or something. Because she is, I don't know. I don't know the specifics, but he is basically emperor right now.
He is emperor. Yeah.
He is? I did not catch that.
I thought it was like he's acting in place of the emperor.
Who?
Wow, fuck him
Empress.
then. Dude sucks ass.
Why did you bring this up?
I guess to me, it's this huge thing. And I guess I'm not even really being that forthcoming about that plot line because I feel like I can't believe I'm so stunned that it didn't stand out to you. I remember being floored when I got to that.
Well, because it's half a world away, dude.
Right, that's what I'm like.
You know,
it's not that relevant.
That's
anymore,
what I feel like. It came up, and I was like, "Oh, weird," and then like just kept reading because like, what else was I supposed to do with that info besides be like, "Whoa." You know,
so the Empress is dead and Malik Rel's taken over. So then the Malazan Empire is fallen and they're terrible, and so we should just get rid of them after we kill the Crippled God. Sure.
Well, they're not Malazans anymore, Josh. I feel like they're not.
I'm saying the Bone Hunters should come back and just purge the Malazan Empire.
I see.
Forkrilla sail style. Give a little Age of Adjudication.
Just Age of Adjudication.
Age of accusation. Once again, I have to come out and say I oppose genocide on the show.
I would not call this a genocide.
Malik Rel showed up way
Josh,
long
people
ago.
doing it usually don't call it that.
Exactly why I'm not calling it that.
He was a priest of Mail, and he was a real shithead. And I can't remember what book he was introduced in.
Who?
2.
Malik Rel.
Book 2?
It was book 2. Yeah.
Because he's with Corbulo Dom as like his...
All right,
That's what it is.
we should move back to Karkanas. Sorry for the detour.
Let's just kind of wrap. Wait, you want to go back to Karkanas?
Yeah, that's where the fighting.
I
That's where
just
the
mean
fighting
this
is
whole
happening.
chapter, this storyline.
The shore. So we're going to the shore.
The shore. Yeah.
All right. I don't really have much to say about this. It was a lot. There was dragons and things. And I don't know. Can you like maybe Josh? I feel like you really love things like this, fighting and all that. Did you have any?
We're talking about Lightfall in general?
The whole battle. Yeah.
First off, I do just want to say Called Shot, Aperol Forge is the one that dies blasting through the portal first. Felt very vindicated. Did not go the whole way, though, and get used to close Lightfall. I mean, it was a pretty cool scene. 3 white dragons show up, and then only 2 white dragons after that, but pretty cool. What did you want to know, India? I could just gush about dragons for a bit.
No, I was just curious about like how you felt about this whole like battle scene. I feel like this was like kind of different than the usual kind because we weren't really jumping around as much.
I would say this is I would say it's very rude of Steve to separate this battle into so many chapters, because I think if you had all of these sections in one go, I think this is probably one of the best battles I've ever read, because you get such varying perspectives on it. And I mean, what cooler way for it to end than with the Tisty Andy being the ones that saved the Sheikh, when historically it's been the opposite always. And for them to just immediately kneel down to them is just such a cool moment. Namander just has no hesitation for it. There's a cloud of black dragons killing the Leosian dragons. I mean, Solana's there just murdering things. It's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know how you don't absolutely love it. It's so good. The scene with Spinok Durov in the shield is just perfect. He's just beating this. He just picks a guy and he's just like, I hope you're ready. And he just beats the shit out of this guy as they're going to battle. And when he falls, there's just another guy that's just like, all right, here it is. It's too cool to stop. He has to keep beating us up. And if there's anything I would ever want to see, like, as, animated or live action, it would probably be that scene. I think it's so great. Him just talking about the history of the Andy and the perspective on all the people who thought, Animator Rake was doing what was wrong, and how that's all led to this one moment. I don't know. It's great. I don't think I'm smart enough to talk about it.
I think you did a great job, Josh.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I agree with a lot of what you said, this battle being so fucking cool. And I think, this isn't super... I think it being stretched out over multiple chapters is just like... is not a thing that happens in these books typically, and is just... It is done on purpose to have us, like... to me, this is the equivalent of, like... a tracking shot in like a movie or television, which is a shot that is all one camera move and they never cut to a different angle or anything. And shows do that a lot of the time. Shows and movies do that a lot of time to subconsciously build tension within the viewer. And so, like, it doesn't give your eye a break at all. You never change angles abruptly. You're just constantly with the flow of action and stuff. And I feel like that is what these chapters are doing, or these sections within these chapters are doing, where it's like, no, every time we come back to the Sheikh now, it's going to be a battle and you're going to have to keep reading it. And it's like, it's so good. I think it's so great. There's a battle in book 5 that I keep thinking about. I don't know if it's the first time. It's a battle where Trull meets up with the Kenrala demon and we get all that lore and stuff. But earlier on in that battle, there is the part where the fucking, the whoever the mages are for the Warlock King send up the wave
the
of
giant
death.
bone tornadoes.
Yeah, that shit is so fucking cool. And to me, this is like that's a scene that I would compare to these scenes. I think it's
yeah.
That is one that is a battle that stands out in my head constantly. And I think this will be one after the fact that like I will think about all the time. It's so good. It's so good. And Nemander's back. I love Nemander.
He's great. That scene between him and Sandaleth is so fucking sad.
Yes.
Really glad he didn't murder her. Crazy that the ghost of Fade's back also and like able to be seen.
Yeah, that was a
What's up with that?
That was a whole weird thing. I love that Fade like talks to Sandalith and is like, "Oh, you gotta release Solana. It's what you gotta do." And then and Nimander's just like there and doesn't say anything. And then Fade turns around and is like, "I told you I'd fucking haunt you." And he's like, "Yeah, you sure will." And like there's no moment there where he tries to interrupt that, which I thought felt weird to me, but
India, did stuff what stood out to you from this chapter and maybe this battle? I mean, it is a big battle and it's kind of the, climax of this battle that's been building across multiple chapters, like Josh kind of touched on.
Yeah, I thought it was a lot. There's a lot going on. It's hard to follow, but I got the general gist, I think. It just seemed like a lot of, I feel like you guys are going to hate this. It felt like a lot of just like the same thing going on. Not from other battles, this one just seemed a lot less like magic, boom. This one just seemed like a lot more.
Oh yeah, I think it's meant to. I mean, it's like as bloody of a battle as we've seen, and it's just people killing each other. There's nothing fancy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Except the dragon.
So that was like different. But I did like there was like a girl boss moment in there.
I was getting ready to say the friendship between Brevity and Charles,
yeah.
who at the end dies, and it's the saddest death of like a while.
Yeah.
Agree. That's right. That is where I was headed. But like I kind of expected it only because she was getting fucked, and then she was like, well. Like she was gonna die when Brevity, I think, found her. So I was kind of expecting it, but yeah, that was a sweet moment. I really liked it. It was quick, though, so that kind of sucked. I was hoping that maybe they could be friends. But yeah, I think that was nice. I think it was great. It was interesting-ish. I was kind of bored, and I hate to say that because you're like, oh, this is like this big thing that happened, and it was. A lot of people died, but nothing really, like, of course, had me, like, floored. Like, oh my God, that was so great.
Yeah, I mean, I think if battle scenes aren't your thing, this is just another battle scene, like, and like Correct. You said, this is just like, this one especially is just like people fighting, there's no, like you said, there's no like magic tornadoes of bones or anything. It's just like, yeah, it's a battle and we're just.
Which I like better, to be fair, because that's easier for me to visualize. The tornadoes and all that like crazy shit. I'm like, I have no fucking idea what to even see in my head right now.
That's interesting you say that, India. I feel like for me, this is a battle. I really like this battle. I love this chapter. But this is a battle, although I do think there's an effort in other chapters. It just doesn't, I struggle with it. For this battle, I feel like I have a very clear image of the geography of the fight. And what is where and what is going on. So I feel like I have a very clear image as opposed to some other more like kind of larger scale battles where they're trying to describe what units are where in the land. And I just can't really wrap
There's
my head
that one
around
in Toll the Hounds, I think, where it's like, let me describe to you Warhammer style, where every single retinue is and what they have at their disposal and what their orders are and all that stuff for like 3 pages. And this is definitely not that, which I love.
In Toll the Hounds?
I think
it's Toll the Hounds Reaper's Gale. I don't know.
It's probably Reaper's Gale. Is that 7?
Yeah.
That's
probably Reaper's Gale.
It was one of them. Yeah.
I would have said it would be the one before that, actually.
Bone Hunters?
No, Reaper's Gale. Reaper's Gale. It would be.
Sure.
I love the return of Nimander, and the resolution of so many of these storylines are really strong. I think a lot of these character moments really land for me, and I think they're just kind of beautiful. The Yed and Derrig stuff, my guy. My guy. How are you not moved by this?
R.I.P. Dan Gregg.
Yeah, I don't disrespect him like that. Yeah, I just like, not only is it a really sad thing, I like feel like a deep love for that character and feel very sad about that whole thing. So
yeah, that death definitely really made me upset. I mean, especially him whispering that he finally sees it as he dies is like so moving.
I also find, Josh shouted it out, the Andy kneeling to the shake.
Mm-hmm.
Just such a powerful moment for me. I find that to be really moving. Also, there's the like kind of war cry pump up battle speech that's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I find that speech was really moving to me.
Yeah, what is it? He did not fall, all that stuff.
So I just love this whole section. I don't know. I think it's an awesome, like, Josh, to me, the fact that it's spread out across several chapters, this battle increases its like potency.
I think in retrospect, it really does. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like it kind of builds, and it builds to this chapter, which is such an awesome one. So big fan of this chapter. And it's there's so much to go into it. I almost feel like we didn't really touch on so much of it, you know, but it is getting late. I know we only have so much time, you know.
I mean, we could touch on more if you want.
Yeah, literally.
Pulley and Squish die.
You could touch on whatever you want.
Pulley and Squish die.
Yeah, and these deaths seem a little like, to be fair, for a while before I realized that people could come back from the dead, all the deaths felt really final. Then for a while, people just kept coming back, and I was like, okay, like, you can't just pick and choose when people are gonna fucking die. But these deaths, I do believe, are like, it wouldn't make sense to bring anyone back at this point. So it does feel like more, I think, sad and impactful, in my opinion.
100%. I agree with you, India. I feel very impacted by a lot of these deaths. I think this whole Tisty Andy storyline, like I've kind of shared before on the show, I think is one that did not like kind of left me out. Like I didn't really connect to the first time I read the book. And I think the second time through I read it, I just really loved it and really connected with it and really, I don't know, I really kind of understood more it, and just want to kind of say I love the ending of it here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's good. It's a really great chapter. And I mean, I only am realizing now, looking at the summary, that like the whole chapter is this battle, which again, I think is just an illustration of like, this is like a Yucatan style thing where it's like, we are here for this entire chapter. Mm-hmm. And we hop.
It's Tisty Andy top to bottom.
And we hop back and forth to the Leosian a couple of times, but like, and so I guess for me, when I was reading it that didn't register to me as like, yeah, this is the same storyline, you know what I mean? But looking through the summary, it's like, yeah, this is all just the battle. Like if this is the script for an episode of TV, like this is the treatment for an episode of TV.
Yeah.
Like this is a 1 hour of television. It's good stuff. Absolara also is there. Shout out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just absolutely fucking destroying shit.
Yeah. Also mostly naked.
Yeah, because Withel took her armor, which I'm unsure how.
How did he take it off her?
Well, so she didn't. He found it underneath because it was taken from her the first time she broke into Karkanas.
Yes, which is when Animander Ray killed her and put her in the sword, I assume.
No, that was a different time.
That was a different time. Okay.
Yeah.
She got captured in Karkanas several times.
Okay.
That's sneaky Absolara.
Classic.
Yeah. But didn't she had clothes though, right? Like when she left the sword, she had clothes.
Well, regardless, she could have gotten some by now. She's been in the castle over at Black Coral, but instead she's just half naked.
Yeah.
Sexy.
Yeah.
Hot.
All right, should we move on to the final chapter, or is this going to be a long episode?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a long episode for sure.
Oh, a lot fucking happened.
A lot happened.
Yeah. Chapter 20. The cries of a woman giving birth echo through the Kundral camp. It is Shelamasa. Justara pushes War Leader Gaul to lead his people. Outside, the children of the snake are gathering. Badal thinks about the strength of the warriors and takes the adjunct's hand, asking when she will let herself feel. Korik thinks back to his childhood in a brothel and the women that surrounded him. Rail smiles, thinking about the children she might have one day. Cuddle recalls his brothers and thinks he will die for a cause. Korab thinks on his past as well, Yucatan, and making his mother cry. Tar has faith and loyalty in Fiddler, Cuddle, and the Adjunct. By the water wagons, Shorthand is guarding the barrels, and then is struck from behind. The soldiers drag away his body. Pores crawls out from beneath the wagon and sees Blistig, who stabs him. Balm and Throat Slitter look for Shorthand but get attacked. The raiders run off, but they all suspect it was Blistig. Pores is badly wounded and needs help. Blistig is tracked down by Kindly. He has Pores' blood on his knife. Dead Smell operates on Pores along with the help of the Talani Mass. Blistig defends himself, saying the extra water supply is for the highborn and the officers, those with greater responsibilities, and is not to be given to the children. Kindly still refuses to execute him, and Blistig rails on about how Tavor has abandoned them and killed them all. Blistig wishes he could kill Tavor and says it was a waste to save Pores' life. Badal watches Sadik receive a toy, and she wants to cry but cannot. She thinks about how she will live and thinks of the Kundral as givers of gifts. Fiddler is far out in front of the Bone Hunters and faces his doubts. He is comforted by the bridge burners. Whiskey Jack, Mallet, and Trots speak to him about meaning, their role in what is to come, and mythologizing the bridge burners. Lostariel longs for the power of Cotillion, and then joins the leaders of the Bone Hunters. They are begging with Tavor for understanding, for direction about what they are to do. Blistig roars in anger, and Tavor takes out her dagger, the gift from Bug, from Male, and wields it, stabbing it into the ground. Water rises.
Who's Shorthand?
He's Shorthand.
He's
You know?
Shorthand.
Shorthand. Oh
He's
God, India. We
never gone by another name, and he's never been known as something else.
India. The quick answer is we met him one time a handful of chapters ago, and you know he was a heavy, and then he lost his hands to the Kachain Naruk. Now he works for Pores.
Oh. And where are they? Where do we find ourselves here?
We're in the Glass Desert.
We're back with the Bone Hunters. So much going on. Checking in with all these people.
Our friends. Yes.
All right, like we could touch in with all these guys. We all know they're all doing the stuff, but the center of it is all the ballistic drama.
Okay,
Yeah.
but wait,
Yeah.
I don't want to skip over the War Leader Gaul stuff.
Okay.
Also,
With the
Right, we should
kid?
touch in on
With
that.
the
So
kid?
good.
Yeah, it's good, and it's just another moment of this time it's Justara being like, "Hey, you gotta fucking do something, dude. Like you can't just sit here and be sad." And hopefully it works this time.
Yeah, pretty weird when he's just like, my son did a good job of picking you as he's leaving her bed. Like, not the smoothest of exits.
That's so vile.
Also, there is more Badal stuff here, and it's like about held in that metaphorical sense, which is cool.
Yeah, dude. And also we didn't talk about it before, but when they take Held from Rut's hands and Rut's like elbow tendons had like shriveled so that he was just in like the baby holding.
Yeah,
he was stuck holding I think they call it the ghost of a child or something because there's just no baby there anymore. So fucking sad. Like that's just like,
and then they kind of imply that he was like holding the spirit of the snake. Which is kind of a beautiful idea.
Yeah.
I mean, he should have just put the baby down.
That's
just on the ground.
That's a good suggestion. Good suggestion.
Yeah, I'm over that. So let's move on to, I kind of want to talk about, if I'm being honest, none of any of the people in this, and
None
I do
of the soldiers, all before, all the run up stuff you don't need to get into.
I just feel like
I agree.
Yeah, I don't feel like there's anything like if you know, you like, if you know, you know.
Yeah.
You know?
All right, I just want to shout out, I think the bottle stuff about like can narrative and can stories motivate people to do crazy stuff is like a cool section. I also love the Korab stuff. You know, I'm a big Korab head, and seeing him return to that kind of idea around following a leader and following a leader who appeals to passions and what that means is interesting. So let's get into the ballistic stuff.
Also, Badal tries to hold Tavor's hand and she doesn't want to, and that's upsetting.
Yeah.
We're speed running the first half of the chapter.
Well, it's because it's like
fair,
it's like sad stuff that we've kind of touched on before, you know, and then we get to like what we actually really want to talk about, which is ballistic, which is a thing that I've never thought in my life.
Also, I just feel like this is gonna be a really weird thing, but like, you know, when you meet children that are like so neglected that they just like come up to anyone and will like let anyone hold them. That's how I feel about these little snake children. Like they're so just fucked up and like dejected and broken that they're just looking for love anywhere, even in Tavor's cold arms and hands. Not that she's intentionally cold, but like she is at the end of the day.
No, she is helping take care of them. So I don't know exactly what you mean by that, but
I mean, emotionally, like, have you ever heard of the freaking experiment with the cloth mother and the wire mother? She's very much a wire mother.
I have no idea what the fuck you just said.
No?
Okay. Feels
Like-
a little harsh, but I guess I do know what you mean.
Yeah, like the psych thing where they took the baby monkeys, which was like horrible. And
Oh,
so mean.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so they're baby monkeys. Tavor is a wire mother. So she provides food and water, and really not much water or much food, but zero emotional warmth. But they still love her because she provides food and water. That's what I was thinking about when I was reading this. I don't know. Anyway, to Ballistic, our favorite war person.
Our favorite war person.
Our favorite fist.
Our favorite fist. What did you... Well, okay, who do I want? I think AJ.
Sure.
I think I want AJ to tell me your thoughts. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, so it's we're finally seeing Blistig get his, I don't know, I guess it's comeuppance, and like it's not super satisfying if I'm being honest. It kind of just makes me mad. It just makes me upset, and I'm like, man, because okay, so part of it is we spent a portion of last episode talking about how like Blistig's not actually that bad. He's just trying to do what he's trying to do because he thinks that like he should be looking out for his soldiers, and he doesn't feel like Tavor's doing that, and like that's whatever. And like I was like happy with like Blistig being a complicated character in that way. But in this chapter, Blistig is like, no, we need like he doesn't have a problem. He's not looking out for his soldiers. He is upset that Tavor isn't respecting the rules of hierarchy, which is like he's like, well, the adjunct needs the most water, and then the fists, and then the captains and the corporal, and it gets lower and lower. And it's not like he wasn't looking out for the best interest of his men. He was just trying to like follow the rules, which is like so fucking dumb, and it makes me hate him again. And like maybe I'm misreading it and misinterpreting, but like he has this whole thing about like he has that whole thing where he's talking about hierarchy and like the wealth, like this is how the world works. The people with privilege and money and stuff get more things, and the people with less stuff get less things. And then they're immediately like, well, no, you didn't come from money. And he's like, well, I'm different. And it's like, dude, you're disproving your own points here, and you're just not letting up, which I think is very realistic, to be fair. Is like, people aren't going to just change their minds because you point out that they said something wrong. They're going to double down most of the time. And so that's really frustrating and annoying. So sorry to anybody in the Discord who is upset, but fuck Blistig. I do not like him. Thank you.
Who's out here being a Ballistic defender?
Yeah, AJ, I just want to say, I don't know if I was ever like, oh, I'm a big Blistig fan.
Well,
I guess what I mean.
Somebody in the Discord had said, oh man, it was a bit ago. Quote, I despise him as you're supposed to, in reference to Blistig, is really interesting, as is the subsequent comparison to Corblo Dom, as my reading of Blistig is completely different. I also challenge the presupposition that Blistig is incompetent. There's no evidence of incompetence in Blistig's actions. We're not actually given enough evidence of his command acumen outside of what he did at Aaron's garrison command, which was fine. And so I don't want to get into that on the episode, but that is what somebody had said.
Wrong and bad. What a bold choice of this person.
Look at Josh. I don't know. I do hear what the person saying. I guess all I meant, AJ,
but I feel like it's a pretty thin argument to be like, well, we can't say they're incompetent. We haven't seen them do enough stuff. Like, come on. Like, we're going off the information we have, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, they've never done anything else because this is a book.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's not like we have like a history of activity. Anyway, Pete, what were you saying? Sorry.
I don't know. I don't know about what you're saying, but what I'll say is, I don't know if I was trying to say like I'm a big Blistig head.
Sounds like you are just starting. I just want to say that.
All I mean is, I think what I was trying to express before is I think he kind of acts as a foil or like complicating force in the second half of this book. In this book, I feel like his motivations are very understandable to me, you know, and I understand where he's coming from.
Sure.
You know,
I just want to.
However, I just
wanted to be clear. I wasn't pointing out anything you said from the last episode or anything. So any comparisons to things that you may have said, totally unintentional.
But I will say this: I do agree, AJ. In this section, Blistig not coming off good.
No.
Honey.
Not coming off good. Because like. I could understand what he was doing when it wasn't like, oh, well, I just need to follow the rules like a good little boy. And it was like, I'm just trying to do what's best for my men and the people around me. Like, I think that's a much more understandable motivation. And I think where he ends up is I'm just following the rules. I'm a narc and I'm a little baby bitch. That's how I feel about Blistig.
Preach.
I'm curious to hear how Josh and India feel. I like how when he's like, and the worst thing of all, Tavor's a class traitor, and then she's leading it all, and I'm like, sounds cool, baby.
he just goes through every fucking excuse he can come up with. He's dumb and bad.
And he fucking tries to kill Pores.
And listen, if you told me a third of the book ago that I would be upset that someone tried to stab Pores.
Josh, if you told me last chapter that I would have been upset that somebody tried to kill Pores, I would have said,
right
fuck
now,
you, you're wrong.
I would fucking die for one of my fellow Marines.
All
right? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
India, what did you make of this conflict with Blistig and this kind of bringing him out into the open in this way?
I don't know. I just think that Blistig is annoying and dramatic. And I think that he's being a little insubordinate for somebody who's so into the rules. He's not really respecting my girl Tavor that much.
Mm-hmm.
So it just seems like everybody in this book is just such a fucking hypocrite. Like they want everybody else to do the right thing, but not them.
Yes.
There's always a reason.
Yes.
And that's how I feel about Blistig. That is like definitely Blistig.
100%. I totally agree. And they call him out on as much in this section. They're like, you're a fucking hypocrite.
I am curious, you guys somewhat mentioned feeling unsatisfied or something like that.
I think it was just like, I wanted him to get his, you know, like I wanted him to get the slap on the hand. And it's just like, he did. And I don't feel any better about it. You know, like, I think it's just like when you see someone you don't like very much and then something bad happens to them, you're kind of like, that does kind of suck still. And I don't feel any better that something bad happened to this person I don't like.
I felt a sense of relief. I feel a sense of relief when, like, it is like he's kind of laying out his point of view about hierarchy. You're like, okay, so yeah, like your whole like faux rationale like was like all fucking bullshit.
Well, that's part of what it is. Like I wanted it to be like, I'm just trying to do what's best, and it was just like my reasoning is I'm just a shithead, and I'm like,
I would rather he just not even try and hide it and say like survival of the fittest, baby. I'm making it out of here regardless of if you are. I would respect that more.
Right. The fact that he was able to
he has more responsibility. Okay.
Yeah.
He has more responsibility, so he needs the water.
He's too busy not leading men into battle and letting fucking Kenneb die. Never forget. Never forgive. I miss Kenneb.
Rest in peace.
Actually, you know what? Take it back. Fuck Sin. Sin killed Kenneb. She's more at fault than Blistig.
Oh my god, remember Sin?
Barely.
I do remember Sin.
It's been a while.
Okay, we also have to talk about, just want to say, to me, I know it's coming in late, rereading it again, is the surgery aspect of this chapter the single best part of the entire book series?
You mean,
for me, potentially.
There's no risk of infection from us. If anything, it's from you. Just what?
When all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I'm the most engaged I've ever been. When he's like, well, my bone hands have nothing living on it. And then we're like, all of a sudden, it's like a medical procedural.
Do you remember
show.
from like Bone Hunters or Reaper's Gale or something? There was the guy who like accidentally discovered microbes or something.
Yeah.
It's similar to that. It's
right?
like, what is happening? What are we doing? It's so good.
Very, very
love
good.
that.
Yeah.
All right, India, let's wrap this up. You're saying Lestariel?
Yeah, please. I just I liked the Lestariel it started with I like the Lestariel scene. I like when who I think it was, what's his name? Blistig, who has a temper tantrum at everyone.
Yeah.
That was really great. I thought that was funny because they all, I feel like, look at him like, are you okay?
Yeah.
Then fucking who does Banishar, is he a witch?
Yeah, he's a priest.
He's the last priest of Drek, the Worm of Autumn.
The Worm of Autumn.
How the hell does he know that Tavor is supposed to cut her hand and shit's gonna happen?
Drek is powerful, and also he's just kind of pretty smart, I guess, is the best
He's
thing
like
I can
Jesus.
say.
He made water.
Yeah, well, it's a gift from the sea god. There's only so many things it probably is going to be.
Yeah, that was way back when in the throne room at Letheris, Mael gave Tavor that dagger and said, use this when it's of dire need or something. And that was in Reaper's Gale or whatever. And then it has not been talked about at all. At all.
And that's honestly, I'm glad.
Yeah.
I was really sitting here like, why now? And then it took me a while after reading it to be like, oh, well, they came and they explained exactly how many days away it would be. And then she must have been like in her head calculating the whole time, like, how many days have we been walking before people started dying? That's how long we have, we got to be that far out before I get this water to make sure that we arrive able to do shit, I guess.
Isn't it fun how she just has all these fucking ideas and none of us know them?
Yeah.
It is.
That's leaders.
Yeah.
I prefer when my leaders have lots of plans that involve me and they refuse to tell me any of them. That actually really endears me to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you do all the work. I'll just execute.
Yes.
All right. Well, and then there was water.
Yeah, I was making dinner and listening to this part of the book, and I shouted out loud, like, "Oh my god!" because I realized what was happening.
Yeah.
Because I miraculously somehow remembered the throne room scene with with the dagger that Mael gave.
And can we just say again? Another element of symmetry, a Perrin hurting themselves, being hurt by a blade, leading to a desert becoming a sea again.
Jesus. Well, I mean, not only a Perrin,
Josh is a star.
Tavor once again stabbing a Perrin.
Exactly, yeah. By Tavor's hand, deserts become oceans. Fucking crazy.
Sheesh. Yeah, I do love the part where Ruth and Good offhandedly is like, this used to be a basin.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay, so there's going to be water here. In retrospect, I love that bit. There's also a really sad part with the snake kids and they don't know what toys are.
Oh, we don't need to talk about it. It's the saddest thing.
Collective.
So sad.
It's really good.
When they're like, oh, they can play. And they're like, well, they don't know how to play with the toys.
Yeah. Fucking brutal.
Really sad.
And they can't cry. They're like, I mean, how long have they been fucking walking though? It's so dramatic. You've never played with a toy?
Well,
actually, India, that's a really good point.
Yeah,
I would like to pause. I'd like to pause here real quick. And I know Peter doesn't have an answer. And I know the internet's best answer is, well, time gets a little wonky with Malazan. But India's correct. At best. At worst, what has it been since these kids left? 3 months? You can only go so many days without water, okay? The Malazans at most walked across this desert for what? Okay. 2 weeks?
Josh,
what? I'm going to go on a rant. You let me.
Josh, I don't think. I think the point is more about trauma, and what the kids have experienced.
Yeah, I don't think it's like they've never seen a toy before. It's like they don't know how to not survive.
Since I've seen a toy,
3 months of trauma. I'm just saying, in general.
Agreed.
Josh,
where we meet,
have had a pretty hard time.
Josh, it's 3 months of sustained 24/7 trauma to children.
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking
No, I'm just saying
Josh?
in general, less about that, more about timeline. Now that we know the length of this desert, these children have been walking this desert for 2 books, and the Malazans, are crossing it at they're done in. I mean, I think this will be in total a 3.5 week maximum month-long journey. And I just don't know if, to me, the logistics of the Snake's March makes any sense in retrospect.
I mean, they're children.
And I don't.
They don't have expert navigators or horses.
Neither do these guys. They're walking, man.
Well, I mean, I would say they have expert navigators, probably.
Yeah, but I don't think they have. None of their stuff's working. Only Ruth Ann Good has any idea where anything is, and he's pretty quiet about it.
It's pretty helpful to have an elder god with you, I would say, or an
He's not
elder,
an elder
I
god.
guess. Sorry, he is explicitly not an elder god. You're right.
He's just unimaginably old.
Yeah.
Andy, I look forward to talking to you next week. However, is there something you want to share before you end this last India hosted episode?
I just want to say it's been a good run, having no idea what's been going on for the past 4 years. And I've always brought a childlike curiosity to my episodes. And I hope you all appreciated it. And if you didn't, I don't give a fuck. And that's it. Signing off.
Beautiful. All right.
No, I have one more thing, actually.
Okay.
When I say come, you say passion. Come!
Passion. Hello, everybody. Producer AJ here, wishing that I could open my windows. Quick reminder to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are not, so you don't miss the stream of The Fallen on July 22nd. On another note, thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you'd like to give us your thoughts or feelings about this or any of our episodes, you can always email us 10verybigbooks@gmail.com, tweet us at 10verybigbooks, or you can head on over to our Discord, bit.ly/VBB Discord. That's capital V, capital B, capital B, capital D, Discord. That link will also be in the show notes. Thank you to all of our wonderful patrons over on Patreon. If you would like to financially support the show, you can head on over to patreon.com/10verybigbooks. That link will also be in the show notes. And as always, thank you so very much to Dan Gesrick for making our spectacular cover art. You can follow him on Twitter at @A_W_DanG for a fucking see ya. Thank you as well to resident birthday celebrator Scout Wilkinson for the special art she is providing for this season. You can follow her on Twitter at HumbleGoat and on Coffee at ko-fi.co/HumbleGoat. And of course, the wonderful music in today's episode, including the remixed intro and outro track, is by the one, the only Amaranthin from his album Simulant Rain, which you can find along with his other music on bandcamp.com. Links to all of their pages will be in the show notes, and 10 Very Big Books will be back in 2 weeks on June 23rd, talking The Crippled God, chapters 22 and 23. We're in the home stretch, folks. I'll talk to you then, and thank you so much for listening.
Well, we have fully interactive sex scenes with the romances and
Oh my
one-night
God,
stands,
stop it, Peter.
difference and all kinds of sex positions and whatnot.
Stop it.
And whatnot.
It's in the chat. Don't
It was
worry
a tweet
about it.
somebody tweeted this at a game developer.
At Cyberpunk Games.
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077.
It's my number one question about all games,
Yeah.
Can you have one-night stands in them?
I just love that they
whatnot.
responded.
All the positions and whatnot.
And whatnot that carries that.
It's something someone who's had a lot of sex.
I was going to say, all the positions I think is really...
Like positions
All
and
of them.
whatnot. Sex